in Peru. And I couldn't cross. I stayed on the other side, and I stayed in Brazil because the frontiers, the borders closed. So directly with the people, actually Jenny was the one that was closer to the reality. I was in another reality, but she was the one, and the other ones that were with her were the ones more exposed. But overall, in the different places that we were trying to give support like in three ways, or mainly give support. I love your lights, Dion. Like in three different ways, we were trying to give support. We were trying to help with humanitarian aid, but that humanitarian aid was of resources like money-wise, like many of you probably help, but resources also like materially, like materials that were needed, masks, oxygen, things like that, but also with resources of people who were available, who could give their times. Many, for example, we had a case of a doctor whom, when the frontiers open, when the borders open, he went there and he's still there giving services as a doctor. So in that sense, that was like the first thing that we worked with, and that where that support that you gave was part of that humanitarian aid that from the Kipi, from our group, we say thank you to you for being for trying to connect with our reality, that even though it's far away, you let yourself like be touched to be able to give a little bit, and with that a little bit together, it makes a difference. The other thing that we try to work with was with social control. I don't know, I know that Dion told me that that in English means it's not like it's clear. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say like the translation from Spanish to English, but
It's
what
not, basically, it's not that you're like controlling society as dictators. It's not like
yes.
you're
So
taking over
actually,
everything. Yeah.
to look over that the government, that what they're supposed to do, they are doing it, because the government in the moment of the pandemic and still now maybe can say like, well, there's not much we can do. Well, but how to how to make sure that the government, what they have to do, what it has to do, it's doing it. And that was part of the process that we try to do, as I said, social control. I don't know how to say it in English. And the other thing had to do with political implications. How is it that in different ways we had to denounce through letters, through articles, through videos, to be able to visibilize the realities so that people would know what was going on, and so that the corruption that in situations like this exists was like put in front, so that people could really be aware of what was going on. Those were like the three main things that we try to work with during the pandemic, and we're still doing it. As I was saying, Brazil right now, specifically where I live, Manaus, it's in a very bad situation. And it's not because it's like that. There are many things that have to do with the way in which things have been dealt, um, policies, government-wise, where is it that the funds go to, who receives that. So it's a structural problem also. But Jenny was there. I think that maybe she can share a little bit more specifically.
We're waiting for the translation. By the way, while Jenny translates what she said, so Jenny, please go on while you talk to Valentina. Just one question more to Marita. Do you find that you're having success? You mentioned like sharing the reality, making people aware of what's happening. Do you think you're being successful in that, or I mean, out of the Amazon, of course? Just
Well,
very quick question.
being a lay missioner, when I come back home, usually at the beginning I came once a month to see my family, to share with them, but now I come at least 2 months. And now it's been since December because I haven't been able to go back. But every time I come here, I think that's part of the mission. Being able to have spaces where I can share what's going on there, how is it that people live, what does that reality have to do with us? That connection that at the beginning you were talking about. So I believe that that is part of the process. It's not until we feel that that reality, those people there have something to do with us. If we don't know about it, really it feels like, okay, like we changed the channels from TV, we changed channels. It's the same thing as Trevor was saying from Malaysia. What do I know about Malaysia? What do I know about the forest there? And for me, it's just a place in a map. I'm not saying that's true, but from what I'm living, the difference is that as we share and as we have questions and we don't know about it, but we want to learn, then it does make a difference. Yes. The same thing with Martin. From your reality, from your country. So, yes.
Jenny.
Sí, Pietro. Sí tem a ver quando as notícias, por exemplo, nós conseguimos que chegam aqui do outro lado do mundo, isso retorna. Muitas vezes as situações muito difíceis lá nos países onde nós estamos, que só os governos se mobilizam quando a notícia sai fora das fronteiras dos países. Por isso é tão importante que vocês tomem consciência. Se vocês lembram toda aquela problemática que houve com os incêndios, vocês lembram que houve, que saiu por todo... Isso teve uma repercussão muito grande. Nós ficamos, infelizmente, era uma tristeza, mas ficávamos felizes que isso estava na boca de todo mundo. E todo mundo estava sendo consciente das realidades que nós vivemos cotidianamente e ninguém fica sabendo. Então, é muito importante isto que estamos fazendo agora, né? De que o outro lado do mundo, ou quando a gente vem aqui, vocês propiciem estes espaços onde mais pessoas possam ter a consciência. Tudo bem, fala do teu jeito.
So Jenny was saying that it's very important pass this message because it creates a great impact when things that are happening there in the Amazon, in other countries, get to here. Because, for example, she was giving the example of the wildfires. All of us, we were quite familiar not long ago, unfortunately, here, what was happening in the Amazon with wildfires. And she was saying, although it was sad what was happening, it's also see the big impact and the change, the pressure that was made in the government when the news came out from the country. So because of this, she's reinforcing how important it is to create the awareness in us, in where we are now, of what is happening in the Amazon in this case, but in other countries. Because when this happens is when the government start to work, start to take action.
Cool, thank you. Yeah. Okay, I think we have to go on because we're running a bit out of time. So if we can, we will show you a brief video of what Marita, Jenny, and with the help of others did for the pandemic. So you have a sense of basically what they're doing, and you see some images, which are always helpful to like get connected with this reality, which is a theme we will come back to later as well. The connection that we have with this reality. Okay, and
so I will share the video. Let me know if you can see it and listen to it. Sorry, I need to put from the beginning.
We can see it.
And hopefully you can hear.
La iglesia es por esencia misionera. La iglesia no tiene una misión, es misión. Misión es salir al encuentro de los demás, afrontar los desafíos y curar las heridas que están más abiertas en la realidad que se abre en nuestro caminar cotidiano. La pandemia provocó que nos quedásemos en el vicariato de San José del Amazonas varios meses. Imposibilitados, como muchos de ustedes, de realizar las programaciones previstas, participamos de la organización del vicariato para afrontar la pandemia, apoyando las comunidades en el área de la salud. Colaboramos en las brigadas de salud en las comunidades más alejadas del río Napo, organizadas por el Hospital de Santa Clotilde, que pertenece al vicariato en convenio con Diresa. La misión es estar donde nadie quiere estar y llegar a las periferias existenciales.
Participar de las brigadas fue la puerta de acceso a las comunidades durante la cuarentena, para poder conocer y observar de cerca lo que se vive en las comunidades. El COVID se manifestó de manera leve y lo que más les ayudó fueron las plantas medicinales. Incentivamos el uso de sus recursos y medicina tradicional. Ayudamos en el triaje. Escuchamos a los comuneros en sus problemáticas con el territorio, conectándolos con las instituciones correspondientes. Conocemos sus problemas, desnutrición, la falta de atención y recursos. Nos hermanamos. El COVID nos abre también la posibilidad de realizar la misión junto a los puestos de salud, las federaciones indígenas e involucrados en este tema para trabajar en red. Red indispensable para realizar la misión en la Amazonía debido a las distancias y a los grandes desafíos globales. Solos caminamos más rápido, pero juntos llegamos más lejos.
Percibimos que la pandemia ha sido un altavoz para ver el descuido y la desatención del Estado en materia de educación y salud, principalmente. La Iglesia, los misioneros, han estado donde la estructura gubernamental no ha conseguido responder. Pero los pueblos, a su vez, no han esperado la respuesta de ellos, sino que se han organizado. Misión es ayuda humanitaria y compromiso real, pero es también control social, ver si las ayudas prometidas llegan a destino. Y sobre todo, denuncia profética, para no asumir las responsabilidades que corresponden a los gobiernos. La misión es la posibilidad de movilizar, salir al encuentro del otro, sensibilizarse con las heridas y ser así iglesia misionera, iglesia en salida. Ser misioneros es acoger el reto que se abre con la pandemia para seguir saliendo, itinerando, haciendo realidad que todos somos hermanos.
Amazing. So Dion, let's jump in with the questions and make this interview the most amazing interview people have ever seen. You can go, man. Or shall I go?
I'll start with the first question. I don't know who to direct this to. Maybe Marita will know who I should direct this to. But I think a lot of people know about the effects of climate change on the Amazon, and they know about the environmental impact of consumerism and a kind of runaway, if you like, mechanization of the West, especially, which is putting a lot of pressure on wild places like the Amazon. But maybe what people don't know as much about is the indigenous communities that live there, and the impact that this is having on them, and the neglect that they feel. So, could you describe the relationship between these two, the poverty and the plight of the people, and also the environmental problems that are occurring in the Amazon as well?
Jenny, ¿tú quieres hablar? I start. I'll just give like when I hear that question, Dion, the first thing I think is that one talks about climate change as something that is happening outside. It's happening. The climate change is going on there, and it's like what is it that we have to do with that climate change? And the other word I listen to is poverty. And strangely, something strange for me, because Brazil is not the only country I've been as a missionary. When I got to Brazil, to the Amazon region, I didn't feel that it was poor. At first, looking at the reality, it's not a poor place. Actually, it's a place full of nature. It's a place full of cultures, diversity. So for me, poverty, looking at first sight at the reality, I don't relate it with the Amazon. But of course, as one gets to know a little bit more, then you get to see that climate change, poverty is related, but it's related because it has to do with what is it that we are doing in those regions? What is it that we are, how is it that we're treating the resources in that reality? How is it that we're treating the people in that reality? And so poverty and climate change are related, but it has to do more with the actions and not directly that they are poor and that the climate change is going on. No, the way in which we're consuming things, the way in which we use the resources are directly related to that climate change, but also related to that poverty. Specifically, I'll show you some images, and I know Jenny can, I'll try to do my best with here. And I know Jenny can show something in here. Can you see it? Yes?
Yeah,
yes, we can.
Yes.
So let me put this image in here. It's related to minery, to extracting gold. And that in there used to be forest, used to be green. And this is just before a community, entering an indigenous community, and this is what they have. Something that used to be forest green, now it's mining, they're taking out gold, and this is not in the worst way it could be. This is really like something very artisan, where they just take the rocks, they put it there, after that they put mercury, and that mercury gets to the water, and that is going to poison the fishes, and those are the fishes that the children, the communities are going to eat. So that is an example of something, and how is it that that affects the climate? So it's all a cycle in which it makes us think, what do we have to do with that? What do we use? Gold, but also it's related to wood. That is in the forest. And this is the reality, that when they're going to cut the wood in areas where there's a lot of diversity, that is because someone else in another part of the world is using it. And that leaves the communities in poverty, because those are the resources, that's the food they have. That is what they need to maintain, not only themselves, but the animals that are around. But it's also with petroleum. That's a community where in a river, they had like a tube where petroleum used to pass, and it broke. And when it broke, the whole community was affected. Skin-wise, they had allergies, the children couldn't go to school, and they don't have, the government won't respond in that sense with the health that is needed in those. So that has to do with all of that. And also there are concrete examples, and I think Jenny with that can give more details, but there are concrete examples, if I can go back, yes, of roads that are being built that want to be, they wanna cut the forest. And in those regions in here, there are indigenous communities, and actually there are indigenous communities which they call themselves, they are isolated. They don't want to be in contact with us, because if this is civilization, well, we don't want to get to know that civilization, you know? So when we are thinking about poverty, first of all, that's not the first word that comes to me when I look at this reality. Poverty comes, and climate change comes with the way in which we make use of the resources. But I know Jenny in there can give some more like details.
Thank you, Marita.
Marita, Podes colocar outra imagem, a terceira, que se vê nas 3 estradas? Bom, isso, a gente quer trazer este exemplo porque justamente foi a realidade que nessa itinerância que vocês viram no vídeo, a gente viu. Estão querendo construir essa estrada, não é? Que são 400 quilômetros, que quer juntar a cidade de Pucallpa, que está do lado peruano, com Cruzeiro do Sul, que está do lado brasileiro, tá? Aí vai marcando no mapa, não é? Mas, e aí vocês leem no mapa que coloca a Serra do Divisor. Essa serra é onde moram os mascupiro, certo? Mas eu queria que vocês soubessem, quando a gente fala que nós temos que fazer também um controle social e uma incidência política para que vocês vejam a maldade, não é, dos governos nestas questões. Na verdade, essa imagem que vocês veem é de uma estrada que está sendo anunciada nos meios de comunicação. Tenho que frear ou vocês estão traduzindo? Como é que é?
Yeah, if you allow me to translate. Now, she was saying that she was showing the map a little bit what Marita was saying, that they want to build that road 400 kilometers to connect that to cities, but will cross through that serra, a mountain where there are the indigenous living. And also she was saying, this is to show how bad are our governments and how important is the social control and the pressure over the politicians, because you can see how bad they are with these people.
Mas eu queria que Marita colocasse a terceira slide, onde se vêem 3 estradas. Na verdade, os meios de comunicação estão anunciando só essa estrada que vocês veem. Mas, na verdade, estão sendo construídas já há 3 possibilidades dessa carretera vai sair. Ou seja, essa que está sendo publicada nos meios de comunicação, sabem que vai ser barrada, porque vai contra todas as leis, não é? Mas, ao mesmo tempo que os meios de comunicação estão preocupados nessa estrada, já se está construindo uma pela ruta dos coqueiros, dos cocaleiros, desculpa, ou seja, os que plantam na coca. E essa não precisa, são caminhos vicinais, e essa não necessita de apoios financeiros, essa vai sair e vai sair. E ainda uma terceira que está já construída a uns 60%, uns 70%, que vai de Nova Itália a Juruá. Bom, com isso eu queria falar para vocês para que vejam a perversidade da ação humana. Ou seja, nós estamos preocupados fazendo uma incidência política dessa estrada, mas, na verdade, todo mundo está pendente dessa, mas a estrada vai sair, e vai sair sem nenhum tipo de consulta prévia aos povos. E isso é anticonstitucional, tanto do lado peruano como do lado brasileiro, que para qualquer estrada se tem que pedir consulta aos povos indígenas. Com isto que queremos colocar um exemplo de que nós falamos as mudanças climáticas. Vocês sabem essa interferência, as mudanças que vai trazer para essas populações imensas e, claro, evidentemente também mudança climática, mas nós queremos com estes exemplos que vocês vejam que o câmbio climático é produzido pela nossa intervenção.
So Jenny was saying, now she was saying that the climate change happens because of our action. And she was saying that this road that they are building, this big one, that is the one that is being coming out in the social media, they are publicizing the social media, is one, but they are building also other roads there. And also she's saying that the governments, they need to consult the different people, the natives and different communities, but they are not doing that. So they are really believing, although they are doing all this pressure, but they are really believing that they will go ahead with the road, that in the end they will end up building this road.
Olha, então quando nós contamos nessa itinerância que nós ficamos sabendo que existiam essas 3 possibilidades, nós como equipe que provocávamos, tínhamos contato do lado peruano das federações indígenas e tínhamos contato também das federações indígenas no Brasil. Então, o tempo que nós estivemos em Pucallpa, provocamos o encontro online dos dois lados das federações e estão lutando agora conjuntamente contra a estrada, pelo menos exigindo a consulta prévia às comunidades, para que vocês entendam um pouquinho mais do que a gente faz.
Also, she was adding to understand better, a little bit better what they do. Jenny was just sharing that when they were in the video that we saw that they travel through this area in their mission also, and they came to know about there is other three possibilities of three possible roads to this one. They managed to put in touch two organizations from the different countries, and now they are speaking with each other, and together they are putting pressure on the government to really stop the building of these roads. This is also part of their mission to also create the possibility of these two, in this case, these two organizations get in touch with each other and together really defend the rights of the native, because what they are being asking is that they want that indigenous be asked if they want this church, that the different communities can be consulted about the fact of building these roads.
Okay, cool. I'll just move on with the next question because we run a bit out of time. It's not because we don't have to comment all these things, but because we have a lot to talk about. And yeah, I'm gonna ask the next question then. Actually, related to all we've seen so far, there is this idea of how in some places there are certain kind of problems, and in other places these problems are absent, like, you know, the dialogue between indigenous people and the government, and the constant breaking of rules and laws and agreements. So what is your idea of social justice in this context? Very fundamentally, I would say, without too many philosophical discourses, but yeah, you know.
In a very short answer, Pietro, equal access to rights. And that means in different things that have to do with life, health, education, the possibility of where to live, what to eat. That would be something very basic, that we and all have that possibility, that being an indigenous person doesn't treat you as a third-class citizen, or that it doesn't put you in a way where you are not considered, and that also when decisions are taken, they also have a voice in there.
I see. Well, Dion, any comments on that?
I don't know if Jenny wants to say something.
By the way, if anyone has questions or comments in the chat, you're welcome to put them there and we will take care of them. Well, I can just, I guess, if Jenny doesn't want to say anything, does she want to say something?
I wanted to say something. I'm talking about the indigenous community relating to social justice, but that is in our spaces too. That has to do with race, that has to do with social, it's not only related to indigenous communities, but I am focusing on that.
And okay, yeah, I get, but then another question arises, how can we actually obtain these things? Can we, I mean, at a more individual level, I guess, how can we grow and train leaders that can, you know, face these problems? And maybe we can, like, you know, put together faith in this and see what's the role of faith in the development and the growth of each of us with respect to what's happening in the world and in the Amazon.
Jenny?
I think she's speaking to Valentina, and we're waiting for translations. I don't know.
Tá.
Tem que ficar muda, tem que ficar sim, sem microfone. Isso. Sim, pode falar. Uhum. The question is that faith is committed with these realities. There's no way faith cannot be committed. Faith cannot be disconnected from the planet. Faith drives us to the commitment to the people, with the people and the earth. And this faith allows us to see that there is value in everyone, especially in everyone. Also, people are different from us. But also as leaders, we need to give voice to the leadership of the people. So to discover, to help people to draw out from themselves their leaderships. You know that in Rome there was a synod happened of the Amazon, and in that synod the indigenous population asked us to step back and listen to them and discover in their diversity something that we don't know, we can learn from them. And maybe we need to start decolonizing our way of acting and start to learn from them and work in synodality, which means to walk together with the other. One of the things of the synod was to learn and to walk these new ways, and also our faith can grow and learn to walk these new ways, can be open to these new ways. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, I think we can.
Oh, here is everyone. But wait, am I muted?
No, you're speaking, Mariela.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a translation, so we're almost done.
Okay, sorry. Recently, in the Amazon, was created something called the Pan-Amazonic Conference, which is an ecclesial structure made of bishops, lay people, men, women, all equally trying to understand and deepen their faith and grow in faith.
Okay, I guess we have to move on now. So Dion, you can take the lead and announce our next activity, which is gonna be different.
Okay, thank you both, Marita and Jenny. I think it's clear from this that climate change and poverty are related in the sense that it is the effects of bad governance, but also consumerism and not listening to the people, which is creating this this sense of poverty and this sense of the people not having a voice. And really, poverty is not having a voice, I guess, if you want to define the poverty in that region, is that the people there feel like they don't have a voice and they want to be listened to and heard. And hopefully this is one way in which their voices can be heard. What we're going to do now is we're going to try and discuss these issues, I guess, on a more intimate level. So each of us are going to be going off into small groups, and there's going to be a couple of images, or at least one image per group, and we're going to just discuss in those groups what those images mean to us. They're going to be images from the Amazon that Marita and Jenny have sent us, and we're going to be discussing them. What feelings do they provoke in us? What emotions? How do they make us feel? And we're just going to be discussing in an open way, trying to see, what can we get out of these images, and hopefully they'll help us to reflect a bit deeper on what the social justice and climate change and poverty and all these things, what do they mean for us in our own context and in our own communities.
But
hopefully no one got lost in the cable.
Hola, Irma.
yeah. For the ones who don't know, Francesco and Valentina, they are siblings.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Wow.
You can see by the type of hair, the hairstyle, you can see they are siblings.
I don't have his beard though.
No, but I
am weird. I have a bird.
Yeah, Valentina doesn't have a beard, does she?
No.
Sometimes I don't have a bird too.
Look at me.
Pietro.
Ian.
Okay. Marita, I think we're going to do something with. So if you want to, I'm going to ask you, what can we do? Because we've talked a lot about the Amazon, and in our discussions, maybe we've talked about what can we do, but what can we do with all of these that we've talked about?
Okay. If you hear a sound like a whistling, it's the wind. So sorry about that. It's nature present in here. Well, it's something interesting because we always want to have a concrete answer of what is it that we can do. And I think as we've talked, we've shared some things. How is it that we use the resources? How is it that we are more conscious? Francisca had written, being aware. So there are many things that we can do concretely, but I will not tell you what to do. Actually, I will just give you an image. I want to leave you with an indigenous symbol. We try to work a lot with symbols, with things that we can keep in our heads, in our hearts, and look over it and try to, we by ourselves try to look for answers. So this is something that we use in the Amazon, the indigenous communities use. In Brazil, it's called cuya. But in all the Pan-Amazon region, the different countries have different names. Actually, in Puerto Rico, we call it dita. And so depending upon the country, different names. And it's something that it's useful. It's used to eat. It's used to drink. It's used to take a shower. It's used to take water out of the canoe when you're sinking. So, so it has many uses. But at the same time, I will tell you areas that I think, or that we think actually, that could be useful in this trying to know what to do in front of this reality. First of all, we should continue working ourselves on the exterior side. Exteriorly, we need to work ourselves. For this to be like this, it has been worked, it has been taken out of the tree, it has been cut, it has been dried, it has been painted, it has designs. So it's working ourselves, taking care of ourselves exteriorly, our body, for any kind of mission we do, but also taking care of the relationships. One of the things that is more present, very strong in what has to do with the Amazon is relationships. Relationships with the ones we have close, with the ones that are natured, with all the beings that live in this common home. The second thing that we need to continue working is our inside, our interiority. We need to work all our history, who we are, where do we come from, and that is like a backpack that we carry, and we have to work it. We have to work our feelings, our ideas, our stereotypes, our prejudgments, everything. We have to work with that. And as we work with that, we're going to grow in profoundness, in depth. So we need to work on that profoundness. We need to leave space for it to go deeper inside of us and to say, okay, what does this have to do with me? Why is it that I'm here? Is it just that I came here, or does it mean something? Is it an invitation for me to be more aware of what's going on, not only in Brazil, but around the world? It's something deeper. Why do I make these choices? Why is it that I'm studying what I'm studying? Why is it that I left something that I was studying that I'm not doing it anymore? Why is it that I even left my country? To go deeper on that. And also, all of this process, you don't do it by yourself. This kuya, it won't be a kuya by itself. It will be a kuya when it gets together with other kuyas, with the other part. So it's an invitation to grow in complementary. We have to be complementary with others, and not the other that is as I am. Look at it. These are different. Actually, this is even cracked. So even with those we think that are a little bit cracked, even with those are different, who are not as we are, that have not the same experiences, we are called to be complementary with that diversity. And that gives us space to receive, that gives us space to also share, and we are taking care of the common home. As we use this, when we drink, when we eat in it, we're taking care of all of these resources that are around. So I leave you with those 4 things: what to work on: exteriority, interiority, depth, and being complementary with others to be able to take care of our common home.
Brava.
Thank you, Marita.
Marita, se você ainda bate elas, faz barulho, né? E a gente, quando bate ela no chão, convoca aos espíritos da mata, não é? Os ancestrais, aqueles que defenderam a terra. Então, junto com isso, é importante bater, comunicar e saber que todo está conectado, igual que elas estão conectadas, não? Fazem parte do todo. Então, eu deixaria que podemos fazer? Comunicar, estar interligados, saber que criar espaços como este são necessários, e dessa maneira estamos invocando a todos aqueles que já lutaram pela terra e nos entrar nessa corrente de vida e de pessoas que continuam lutando e criar novos projetos, novas formas de ir nós mesmos entregando também aquilo que a gente tem, não? Cada cuia é diferente e todas são necessárias.
So what Jenny was only adding is that also that's what Marita was giving the example. So to touch it, to play it, that is also a way of calling the spirits, the ancestors,
eu tenho que sair,
before us, and also were protected here.
Tá?
So she is also reinforced Jenny saying the importance also speak and communicate to pass the message. to communicate what we see, what we have shared here, to pass the message, to really also to help.
Jenny is leaving because she needs to leave because they have the time schedule when they have to be back home. So she's leaving the borders in there.
Yeah, she's leaving because she's in Spain, and in Spain they really at 9 o'clock no one can be in the street, so she needs to go home and arrive home before 9 o'clock because of the COVID situation being very strict in Spain.
Wow.
Okay, we had a lot more questions, Dion, didn't we? But we didn't manage to ask them. Maybe next time.
The answers were so full and so, I think, so much to take already, even from what we just heard.
Yeah.
So thank you to Jenny. She's not here, but Marita will pass on our thanks. And Marita, thank you for coming and sharing. It was so beautiful. And thank you for everyone who came. Thank you for taking the time. And I hope you were inspired just as I was. And yeah, we will meet again, hopefully next Tuesday. But thank you so much. I hope you will go and you will tell everyone you know about what you've seen. And maybe, just maybe, we will even think about this in our hearts for a bit longer and let it dwell in our hearts and hopefully inspire us.